Hey everybody, thanks for joining me again. Today I'm introducing a new dye we have coming out called BotaniCuts Wildflower Mix. In this video I'll be giving you some tips for coloring and assembling these pretty dainty little wildflower sprigs. So like I said, the name of the dye is BotaniCuts Wildflower Mix, and the concept behind this dye is that there are several different stems along with several different style blooms, and the idea is that you can mix and match any of the stems with any of the blooms. You can also layer some of the little blooms together to create even more looks. So let's go ahead and get started. I have already die cut the wildflower mix from a piece of white cardstock, and what I like to do is I like to leave all of the pieces nested inside of the negative portion of the die cut. So instead of punching out all those little pieces and separating them from the backing, just leave it all intact. And then I like to go ahead and put it on a sticky mat. I use these mats all the time in my craft room for all sorts of different things, and this works perfectly. It holds everything in place and makes it really easy to work with those little pieces. I'm going to be using my favorite coloring method today, which is super easy. I like to use Distress Oxide inks and sponge daubers, the finger sponge daubers, to add a layer of color, and then I add some detailing with colored pencils and pens. So I'm going to start first of all by adding color to all of the stems. So I'll just go ahead and ink those up using my sponge daubers, and I'm going to use a variety of shades of green inks, tending all the way from yellow greens to even probably some blues. Just gives me a nice variety of color, and while I'm doing it, I'm going to be careful that I'm not getting color onto the little blooms. If you're worried about some of these areas that are kind of close, you can always keep some post-it notes handy and just lay those over the top of anything you don't want to color. So our stems are all colored, and you can see I was not fussy about where I put the color. I just got a good mix of greens in all sorts of ranges of color. Now we're going to go ahead and sponge all of the blooms using the same method. This time I'm going to be a little more fussy about sponging a certain color on each type of bloom. So you can see the blooms are grouped together by shape, and so I'm going to be just inking each type of bloom with a particular ink color. Now you can see that all of our wildflowers are sponged with ink, and we're now going to go ahead and add some details using colored pencils and pens. I have a black and a white pen, white gel pen, and then also my polychromo colored pencils. So we're not going to be doing anything difficult. I just like to add just some shading. Generally I kind of shade from the center of the flower out, just adding some depth of color to the insides of the flowers. Just kind of helps to bring them to life. And then maybe go ahead and take your pen and add some centers to the flowers and maybe some little dots and details. So now our wildflowers are all colored, and we can go ahead and assemble all the little stems. This is where it's really fun to just mix and match and build your wildflower garden. So I'm going to punch out all of the different little flowers and blooms and remove them from the backing. Alright, so I have all of my pieces removed from the negative portion of the die cut, and now I can go ahead and assemble my stems. The easiest way I found to do this, instead of handling the little blooms very much, I just like to add a little dot of liquid adhesive to all of the little balls at the top of the stems. Those are the areas that the flowers get attached, and so I just add a tiny little dot of glue to each one of those, and then I can go ahead and put the blooms on top. A lot of our BotaniCuts sets come with guides for showing you how to assemble. This set does not, because the intention is just that you can mix and match and create all kinds of different little stems with all of the different blooms. So I'm just going to go ahead and continue building all of my little stems. So now you can see we've created a whole wildflower garden. These are so fun to add to projects. They're also great for combining with any of our other BotaniCuts to act as filler flowers. They'd be beautiful with our BotaniCuts rose or lilies. Just have fun playing around and mixing them up. This die will be available beginning at 10 a.m. Eastern Time on March 10 from thegreetery.com.